of business, check. Thank you all so much. It is an honor to be back home. It's so wonderful to see familiar faces, to meet new faces, and being here at Prince Edward. I feel like I was sitting in your seats yesterday, so I feel really old because it was not yesterday. But my time at Prince Edward County, I went from kindergarten all the way through senior in high school, was so wonderful and so memorable. I graduated in 2010, as Dr. Smith said, and time flies, definitely. But if I could, there's so many things I'd like to share with you. And I know typically when we're in school, referring to getting D's or shooting for D's usually has a negative connotation. But today we're going to put a positive connotation today, because when I was compiling pieces of advice that I wanted to share with you, I realized they all started with the letter D. So we're going to go with it. And today I have 4 of them that I'd like to share with you. You know, as we mentioned earlier, I was honored to graduate in 2010. I graduated from Liberty University in 2014. I studied music and communication. That was a difficult 4 years, but I share your joy with you in knowing what an accomplishment it feels to move that tassel over and get that degree in your hand, so you should be so proud of yourselves. And then in June of 2014, many of you saw my embarrassing, ugly cry when I was crowned Miss Virginia 2014, and I'll share a little bit about that journey with you. I competed my entire life. I dreamed of being on that stage. I dreamed of wearing that crown, not because only of the honor that it held, but because of the opportunity that had been placed before me, and we'll talk about that a little later. But I competed for Miss Virginia for 4 years, and so finally achieving that goal was a culmination of so many years of hard work. And I'll share a little bit about the things that I've learned along that journey and along my journey of life that I hope you can take into your life, into your future, and can help you along the next chapter. So as Miss Virginia, one of the D's that I like to share with you that's been so integral in my life is to dream big. It sounds cliche, you hear it often, but it's so important. And Rachel mentioned it earlier, dream big and have no inhibitions. The founder of Liberty University, his name was Jerry Falwell Sr., and he had something that he often liked to talk about. He called it a BHAG. It sounds kind of offensive, like what on earth is a BHAG? But it stands for a big, hairy, audacious goal. He believed that every person had a divine plan. You were created, there's no one else in the world like you. You are unique in the gifts and talents you are given. Therefore, dream big with those gifts that you are given. Everyone should have an accomplishment in life that they want to go for, and one that people around you may think are crazy. Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, these incredibly successful individuals, at one point along the beginning of their journey, people thought they were crazy. You know, when I was a little girl, I grew up in a very small town, and it's nice being here because when I say Pamplin, people know Pamplin, right? Yeah. That's right, shout out for Pamplin, putting us on the map. The proud 200 city of Pamplin, and since my family's here, it's about 175 right now, so Pamplin's 175 strong right now. But being from a small town in Pamplin, my neighbor was a cow. You know, and when I said I wanted to be Miss America, that wasn't often met with, oh yeah, you can do that. I would get strange looks. People thought I was crazy. You, a little girl, no training, no money, from Pamplin, you want to be Miss America? Okay. But I believed in myself, and I surrounded myself with incredible people that believed in me. And I encourage you guys to do that too. Have those goals that seem so far out of reach and stop at nothing to achieve them. Eleanor Roosevelt, she was an American diplomat and the First Lady of the United States during her husband, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's term. She says, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." You have those passions inside of you for a reason. Chase after them at no cost, because you never want to go 5, 10, 20 years and look back with regret and say, why didn't I? Why didn't I? The people who changed the world didn't stay in their comfort zones. So dream big and push yourself, challenge yourself. The next thing I want to share with you that I've learned along my journey as Miss Virginia is don't miss it. A former Miss Virginia was asked one time, do you believe that there are losers in pageants? And she said yes. And everyone thought, that's not the pageant answer. You shouldn't say yes. Everybody's a winner. But she said something so wise and so true. She said, the losers are the young women who go through this experience and their only goal is the crown. And that's so applicable to life because you can lose or you can miss it by having your mind and your heart set on materialistic, substantial things. Don't miss the opportunities at your fingertips. Every year that I would go to Miss Virginia, it was discouraging for a moment not to win the crown. But my goals were set on things aside from that, on the experience, on the friendships I made, on the obstacles I overcome, on the goals that I set aside from that end goal. So I encourage you, graduates, when you have those big dreams in mind, don't get discouraged when it doesn't happen for you at first. Have goals for the journey. Enjoy the ride. And soak up the experience. Don't miss what's right at your fingertips. Education. You're here at the end of 13 years of an education. Some of you will continue to further your education. Some of you will go into vocations. Some of you will go into the workforce. Recognize that those are privileges. Never take that for granted. There are thousands of people around the world that would dream of sitting where you've been seated, to have an education. Cherish that diploma and what it means, and cherish the opportunities that have been given to you because of where you sit today. And as I mentioned earlier, those goals may seem out of reach, but do it anyway. The next one, the next D that I'm going to share with you, which is probably the most important and has been the most integral in my life and my success this far, and it's to be determined. Life is not going to go the way you want it. Just going to tell you right now. I'm only 22 and life hasn't gone the way I wanted it to in some aspects. But you have to be determined. And I'm going to share with you all a very special part of my life, but it's a huge part of my life, and it's why I am the person that I am today. And it's the story of my brother Austin,
All right, here come the tissue.
who I'm not going to look at so I don't cry. Austin is 18 years old today. He's sitting right here in the front. He's very special to me. When Austin was born, yeah, give a round of applause.
I know.
He likes being the center of attention.
Look at him.
When Austin was born, his journey began. It was a very rocky one. Talk about life not going the way you wanted it. When Austin was born, that was supposed to be a celebratory time for our family. Everyone was leaving the hospital. It was a joyous experience. I was bringing a new brother home. I was so looking forward to having a new sibling in the house that I could pick on and have fun with. But when Austin was born, he had what's called a pneumothorax, so a small hole in the lung. If it's not caught in time, your lungs will collapse and you'll lose oxygen to the brain, which is what happened to Austin. And because of that extensive loss of oxygen, his brain became damaged. He had a 6% chance of survival. Within the first 72 hours of his life, he was sent to 3 different hospitals, and each one would come up short. We've done all that we can do. There's no hope. So we travel to the next one. Every second is critical in this child's first hours of life. And the next one would say, we've done all we can do with the equipment that we have, there is no hope. And we'd go to the next one. You can imagine how discouraged my parents felt. Why? This new child, this new opportunity of life, why is this happening? They had me come in, and I was so confused. I was young, everyone was sad, and they asked me to say goodbye to my brother. They were asking me to say goodbye for good because they had given up. And I didn't understand that. I thought it was a temporary departure. I'll see you when you come home, Austin. Bye. The doctors had given up hope. He needed to be at a 96% fatality rate, meaning 96% chance he was going to die, in order to qualify for a very rare and extensive ECMO treatment. My parents were given a beeper and they said, once he fails 2% more, you qualify. They waited and waited and waited. And as time grew on, Austin got worse, and the doctor said, either he's going to die or he needs to have a procedure.